May I have your chosen number?
6.
All right.
Here is a question number 1. Which of the following is not listed as an item of intangible cultural heritage by UNESCO? A. Art of Chinese seal engraving. B. Traditional handicrafts of making xuan paper. C. Longjing tea.
C.
Correct. Number 2. How to express 惊蛰 in English? A. Awakening of insects. B. Frightened insects. C. Surprising the insects.
A.
Yes, correct. Number 3. Which is the smallest continent by area in the world? A. Africa. B. Oceania. C. Antarctica.
B.
Correct. Number 4. Nord Stream is a critical network of pipelines that deliver fuel from A. Russia to the US. B. Russia to Europe. C. Russia to China.
B.
Correct. Number 5. Which of the following is not correct about identity? A. People determine their identities by themselves. B. People can perceive their identities from others' reactions. C. Identities are constructed through language and discourse.
A.
Yes, correct. Number 6. In a summer camp, Wang Li, a Chinese girl, became friends with the American girl Emily. When Wang Li tried to put her arm in Emily's arm, Emily felt uneasy and kept Wang's arm off. How do you evaluate this conflict? A. Wang was being impolite and Emily overreacted to Wang's actions. B. Emily was unable to appreciate Wang's behavior. C. Wang should keep a social distance and Emily could try to understand Wang.
C.
Yes, correct.
And your score for this part is 3. You may proceed.
你站中间。
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, let's take a look at Xiaomi, a respectable Chinese high-tech giant. Through the past 13 years, this country has made it to go beyond China and came to influence the whole world. How did this miracle happen? Today, we'll dig deeper into this case to find out the cultural norms and principles behind it, and what can we learn from it to guide our future intercultural communication. So firstly, as we've seen in the video, Xiaomi's overseas profit have grown by more than 6 times from 2015 to 2018. So how did this miracle happen? What do you think about it, Lisa?
Yeah, you're right. From the video, we can see that the Xiaomi brand has gone global day by day. Right now, it has 40% of revenue from global sales. It is also now the top seller in India. This is because, firstly, it has embarked on multiple international collaborations. For example, inviting Hugo from Google to be the vice president of Xiaomi, and also setting up a camera lab in Finland. But more importantly, it is keeping up with the high-tech trend, inventing not just the smartphone, but also the IoT products, making futuristic concepts. This means that Xiaomi is chasing the trend of high-tech, also keeping ahead of time. And it shows that Xiaomi is now deeply involved in the trend of globalization. What do you think, Leo?
Thank you, Lisa. I quite agree with you. However, under the circumstance of globalization, Xiaomi still stuck to its Chinese roots. So can you explain it further for us, Sandy?
Yeah, as actually in the video we can see, as a Chinese brand with the Chinese cultural background of the founder, Xiaomi is trying hard to show their inner Chinese root to the world. And if you use the theory of time orientation, we can say that Xiaomi, the brand, actually has a past-oriented culture. Firstly, the name Xiaomi comes from a traditional Buddhistic concept, means walking from the bottom to the top, which shows the spirit of resilience of Chinese people. And secondly, if we put the logo of Xiaomi upside down, we can see the Chinese character of Xin, which I think is related to the carefree people and was also related to their behavior to sell their phone as low as possible to their consumers. And thirdly, when their employees firstly get into the company, they need to learn the corporate history and culture, which also shows the brand's empathy of the traditional values. So Leo, you see, that's why I would say that Xiaomi is a successful Chinese brand walking to the world.
Thank you, Sandy. That really makes sense. While sticking to its Chinese characteristics, Xiaomi was also making some efforts to adapt to international tastes. So, Lisa, could you explain it further for us?
Yeah, indeed. We see that Xiaomi is now trying very hard to strike a chord with the cultural identity of people from different countries. That is to say, they're making the foreign people more and more familiarized with their own tastes. For example, from the video, we can see that when we go into the headquarters of Xiaomi and on their advertisements, there are models from different countries, religion, and ethnic backgrounds. What's more, in the past, Xiaomi has its own camera technology which caters only to the Asian faces with smoother skins and bigger eyes. But now, as they go global, they are now working together with Nokia to adapt to the face with other kinds of features, getting their an updated filter and beautifying options. So you see, Leo, it shows that Xiaomi is very resolute to go global and adapt to the global culture.
Thank you, Lisa. I quite agree with you. And besides adapting to the international taste, it seems that Xiaomi was also making some efforts like building a community by holding quiz tournaments, etc. So how can we understand this phenomenon, Sandy?
Well, actually, in this case, we can see a very interesting cultural adaptation action of Xiaomi, and I'd like to use the concept of collectivism to explain this. During the process of the cultural adaptation, Xiaomi is actually trying to sell the spirits of collectivism to the world, and it made a huge success. On the global scale, it tries to raise the awareness of group and build communities everywhere, but catering to the local culture. In America, it holds activities like running around the cities, and in some other Western countries, it has celebrations of Christmas events. And based on the sense of cultural communication, you see Xiaomi is actually making new use of the Chinese culture of collectivism. And among all activities, what I want to mention most is the one taking place in Thailand. As a severe flood happened there, Xiaomi offered warm help to them and helped them to rebuild the city. So it really shows how Xiaomi handled its corporate social responsibility during the trip of intercultural communication, which resonate with the collectivistic culture. Don't you think so, Leo?
Yeah, I quite agree with you. Thank you, Sandy. And ladies and gentlemen, now we will turn to analyze what can we learn from Xiaomi so as to make the future intercultural communication more pleasant and effective. So firstly, the cognitive aspect. Perhaps just like Xiaomi, we should be aware of the trend of globalization and embrace it positively. And also, we should admit and accept the cultural diversity. And second, the effective aspect. The key point is to respect cultural diversity and cultural differences. And also, like Xiaomi, we can embrace the trend, keep open-minded, so, both to the world and to the future, to make some adjustments accordingly. And finally, on behavioral level, perhaps what we can learn from Xiaomi is to hold some activities such as quizzes, tournaments, etc., to strengthen the community bond. And second, like Xiaomi, we can also focus on publicity so as to foster the intercultural values and ideas to the world. And also, what governments could help in intercultural communication is to hold up some activities so as to bridge the gap. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is the globalization and mainstream that made up the mainstream of today's world. And I firmly believe that so long as we keep open-minded and keep learning and adapting to such a new tendency, we will firmly embrace a better world and a new version of humanity. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our review for today, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for your analysis, and I'm thinking about the things you focused on, like international collaboration, high-tech innovations, keeping the intercultural or the inter-Chinese roots, developing intercultural identities, and so on. My question is how to apply these, and I'd like to do that by asking if you were hired to be a manager for Xiaomi, what do you think moving forward that Xiaomi needs to do to keep doing more cross-cultural adaptation and intercultural practices to get an even greater market share and influence?
Well, thank you for your question. Actually, I would quite agree with you because we really see a very successful example of how Xiaomi is dealing with the whole environment of intercultural communication. And if one day I am hired by Xiaomi, maybe I really hope so, I may try to do with even promote the actions they are doing more forward with the following steps. Firstly, I will still like to say that I will try to still emphasize the Chinese root of Xiaomi. As we can see in the video, Xiaomi actually have the training of their brand history and culture. So if I were hired one day, I would not only show the new employees the cultures, the histories, but more Chinese features that it has. And secondly, as what's more important during the process is the intercultural communication. I think I will have some international trainings for my employees. I will send my employees to abroad to help them better understand the culture there, as we think the understanding is all based on the knowledge of the cultural context. And what I want to say at last is just as the necklace I'm wearing today, it's a figure of puzzle. So I want, if one day I can be an employee by, one day I can be hired by Xiaomi, I want myself to keep the hard material of the Chinese spirits, but try to put a bigger picture, make a full picture with my own personalities. And that's my answer for the question. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. Here's a subject for your Chinese storytelling. Please choose one of China's world intangible cultural heritage items in the category of traditional handicrafts skills and introduce it to a foreign friend. Here are some examples on the screen. Yes, you can proceed.
Ladies and gentlemen, out of the hundreds of intangible cultural aspects originated from China, there is one thing that I find very magical, and that is the technique of wooden-style movable printing. I find it magical because of 3 reasons. The first is its simple mechanism. You carve a single character out of wood, piece them together into a long paragraph, and then you spread some ink and a sheet of paper, and the magic happens right before our eyes. Welcome the birth of written word. This is its mechanism. But what I find more magical is in its Chinese cultural elements. The first element that I'd like to mention is the collectivistic spirit of China. You see, one single word does not have much meaning, and it is very time-consuming to just print out one word. But if we piece all those characters together made from wood into a longer paragraph, we're able not only to have meaning, spread ideas, but also maximize efficiency from this process. Just like in society, we Chinese people each contribute our own individual effort to the harmony of the whole society. And we strive together in a family, as a group of friends, and in communities. This is how we Chinese people appreciate the effort of not just a few, but as a whole group. The second element of Chinese culture is what we call flexibility. Instead of just carving out a whole paragraph out of wood and then discard it after we use it for one time, we only carve out the little characters and then piece them together as much as we want according to our own will. And so they're used one time after another, saving time and maximize efficiency. As the Chinese nation, we survive by adapting to all kinds of hardships, and this is how we strive as a whole culture. Now, but the most magical about this technique is its global impact, and it is very much like the process of cultural adaptation. When this kind of technique was spread to all over the world, they are able to adapt the Chinese character to round alphabets, from civilization of just one country to the civilization of the whole world. There is a saying that different civilizations borrow and learn from each other and are able to prosper from this process. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I call the magic of the Chinese ancient wisdom, this wooden style movable printing. This is how we spread words into paragraphs, into ideas from one nation to the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, team number 10. You can leave the stage.